Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Basketball Show. I'm your host, George Michalowski with Pittsburgh Sports Now, here to tell you about what's going on in the Pittsburgh basketball scene. We start with Pitt men's basketball, who is the best team in the city right now, 7-1. The Panthers are coming off of a huge win at Ohio State. I was there in attendance in Columbus. It was an unbelievable finish, an unbelievable battle. I mean, this game was up and down. Like Ohio State could have pulled away with this game so many times in the first and second half and overtime. Like they had so many reasons. Pitt had so many reasons to give in. If they were a bad team and if they had a bad culture, they would have given in and lost that game by 30. Like we saw that game result in a 20, 30-point loss 4 years ago under Jeff Capel. But it's a different team. It's a different program right now. It's a different culture around that building. Jeff Capel on a great podcast. You guys got to go listen if you haven't already. With Jeff Goodman yesterday, said that was a culture win. Like he believes that they won that game. They battled back. They didn't give up, and they kept making plays down the stretch because of the culture that they've built successfully so far at Pitt. So great win for the Panthers. Can't say enough about Papa Conte's performance in that win. He came off the bench. I was actually very surprised that with Capel's trust in Papa that game. I mean, he clearly made a difference. He was a spark coming off the bench in that second half with about 18 minutes to go. In that first rotation that he was in, Pitt mounted a comeback, and they got it to, I think, within one when he first checked out. Maybe wrong there. But with 5 or 6 minutes left, he went right back to Papa. Like, Cam, you're coming out. Papa's coming back in. Like, that takes guts, man. That call to put Papa back in and to keep that lineup that was working. And even Biba played late minutes. Like to have these guys, have trust in these guys to play late minutes, man, it was a sight to see. It was a great coaching performance, I think, by Capel. And obviously the players won the game. Like they made big play after big play. They didn't give up. Jalen Lowe had some unbelievable shots in that game. I mean, we're not no matter how much we talk about that game for the future, it's always going to be about Zach Austin and ball knowers are going to bring up Papa's performance, but Jalen was spectacular. Ish made spectacular plays as well. Like those two guys are stars. Like at this point in their careers and their seasons, you expect them to make spectacular plays. They're at that level, that standard of play right now. So it's a joy to watch them, man. I mean, appreciate it while we have it, right? Like we've got some really good players in the city right now. Jalen Lowe, Ish Leggett being probably the two best. I want to go into the next game a bit on another show this week, probably tomorrow, Wednesday, to preview Mississippi State. That'll be a tough game for Pitt. I mean, Mississippi State, you remember them from a few years ago in that NCAA tournament in Dayton. Different look. Now they don't have Tolu Smith down low, who was the big story of that game. But they've got great guards. Josh Hubbard, one of the best guards in the SEC. So should be a great game. We'll see if we get into that a little bit more on a show tomorrow. Stay tuned on PSN for more coverage there, previewing that game. But another great test for Pitt. It'll be a quad one game. They already have two quad one wins. Might end up being just one out of this early slate with West Virginia being right on that edge, just like LSU is right on the fringe of the top 50. So those wins will likely, I think, will be quad two wins going down the stretch here as we continue the season. But they were quad one wins yesterday. So they're right on the edge. If West Virginia and LSU have good seasons, benefits Pitt a lot. Same with Radford, same with Gardner-Webb, two teams that have played very, very well since Pitt beat them by a lot. Like Pitt is very happy to look over at the Big South right now and see who's playing well. So can't complain if you're Pitt right now. I mean, Jeff Capel talked again on that Goodman podcast, which I posted on Twitter. So check it out on there if you haven't seen it already. He said, like, guys, if that shot doesn't go in, you're not getting all these texts. Like, if that shot doesn't go in from Zach Austin, we don't feel the same way. But I think the main message there is like, we have to stay focused, stay consistent, not get too high from our wins, not get too low from our losses. He also talked about Ish Leggett after the loss to Wisconsin at the Greenbrier, saying, guys, this is what it's about. Like, we're going to go through losses. It's part of the journey, I think were his words. So this team feels connected right now. They feel like they're figuring out, the staff feels like they're figuring out what pieces work together. And to do that while getting a W, like Jeff Capel said in his post-game locker room speech, feels really good for them. There's a lot of years and a lot of teams that have to learn through losses and obviously adversity. And Pitt's going through adversity. They've got Dame out, one of their best players, a surefire starter for 5, 6 more weeks. So they're going through adversity, but they're winning through it. So can't complain about Pitt right now. Pivoting over to the women's side, big game tomorrow night, city game, Pitt against Duquesne, coming up Wednesday night at the Pete. I'll be there if you're there. Say what up. I will be in the press box covering that game. I've seen both these teams play multiple times this year already. Duquesne women's basketball is the second best team in this city right now, regardless men's or women's basketball. Meg McConnell is an absolute star. Everyone knows that. She's even better. Dan Burt said she's gotten better in a lot of different facets of her game going into this grad season. Like, it's not like she's just the same Meg, um, but she's consistent. You know what you're going to get. I went to 2 games last week of theirs, and she had a triple double in one, and she almost had a triple double in the other. So Meg's playing great. In addition, though, like, man, this team has a lot of depth. Journey Kiaku played an unbelievable game on Sunday. Like, I watched her diving on the floor and stealing balls and going coast to coast and beating defenders in the half court to the rack, shooting the ball. Like, she can do it all, and she's not the first guard you hear about for Duquesne. Nadia Moore didn't play on Sunday when I saw them, but should be back for tomorrow night's game, according to Burt. So she's a really intriguing freshman. I haven't even mentioned Gabby Hutcherson yet, the Pitt transfer, previously played at Ohio State. She talked about how she's very, very happy and feels at home, feels like she's in a family environment at Duquesne now. So that program's got a lot going. I see a lot of similarities in the culture of the Duquesne women's program that I do in the Pitt men's program. All good things coming out of those two gyms right now. Pitt women's basketball, not so much. I mean, they've dealt with plenty of adversity. Two of their starters, Jenkins and Rust, going out with injuries, long-term injuries. Not good. Khadijah Faye going out with an injury, missing all the games in the Virgin Islands. Not good. I mean, you've got to battle through those, uh, I guess, adversities. But, you can't control these injuries that have gone down to them. So it's just been a tough go for Pitt women's basketball. They've got to really dig deep tomorrow. Should be interesting to see if Faye plays that game. They're going to need her, right? Like, down the stretch of the season, they're going to need her tomorrow. Duquesne won it last year. Like, this team, even though they're in the A10, Pitt's in the ACC, like, they could beat Pitt. I wouldn't be surprised if they were favored. So this is going to be a good game. Like, show up and go support women's ball in the city, because, like, some really good players on both sides that are going to be in this game. The one thing about Pitt women's basketball, there's one player on the roster who hasn't started a game. There's only one player that started all the games. So, as we said, injuries, inconsistency in the starting lineup because of those injuries, it's tough to battle through. But that one player that hasn't started a single game is Bella Perkins. 26 points, 6 for 6 from three, 10 of 15 from the field in Pitt's last game against Northern Iowa. Think she deserves a shot. She's a good playmaker. Seems like she's kind of been producing in spurts for Pitt over the last couple of years, but she's talented, man. I mean, you watch the tape. I posted a highlight tape of her from that UNI game a few days ago in the Virgin Islands, and she looked good. She looked special. So you need all the scoring. You need all the leadership. You need everything you can get from anyone on your roster when you have two significant injuries. I don't know how significant Faye's is, but when you're dealing with this adversity, you need all the help you can get. I look to Bella Perkins, obviously, as a key piece for Pitt. Marley Washenitz has been good. She's started all 9 games for Pitt, the only player on that team to say so. They've got some other good pieces, but man, the turnovers have been tough. They've got over 160 turnovers. They have 5 players with at least 20 turnovers so far this season. Not good. Like, you got to clean that up if we're going to want to see a turnaround here this season. But again, everything points back to this team being severely, severely affected by injuries. So tough times in the Pitt women's basketball program. But tomorrow night, again, is a great opportunity to prove, like, hey, we can fight. Like, we can get through this and drag teams into the mud and really take advantage of our home court in a rivalry game and dig deep and win this game. So I'm jacked up. I can't wait for Wednesday night city game. See you guys at the Pete for that one. If you're there again, come say what's up. Then going over to Duquesne men's basketball. The Dukes 1-6 right now. It was a tough start to the Drew Joyce era. Like, you can't say anything else. If you told me they would be the worst team out of all six local teams through 7 games, I would have called you crazy in the summer. Like that team still has talent. They still rally around Drew Joyce. The staff is talented. The staff knows what they're doing. They all coached under Keith Dambrot. A couple new guys came in to bring some juice to the program as well. But I'm confident that they can turn this thing around. I don't think I talked with Tristan Freeman a bit on Spaces yesterday on Twitter about Duquesne and is the season a wash? And I don't think it's a complete wash yet. I mean, it's never going to be when you're in one of these leagues where you win the title like last year Duquesne did, and you get a bid of the NCAA tournament. Like they just have to figure this thing out before the tournament. They have time to do that. They have talent to do that, I believe. So Duquesne, obviously, not what you want to see so far out of them, but I believe in them. I believe in Drew Joyce. They got St. Peter's tonight. I mean, you wouldn't look at that as one of their tougher tests in the non-conference, but they're over 130 spots ahead of Duquesne in the net rankings. Like this would be a significant win for Duquesne to not only get things going, pick up a win on your home court if you're Drew Joyce for the first time, get some momentum going in the program, but also analytically 130 spots ahead of you, that's going to be an important win for your numbers. That'll dig Duquesne a bit out of this hole if they can win that game against St. Peter's tonight. So Zach Weiss will be there. With that being said, want to shout out his book. Usually no free shout outs on here. We don't have any sponsors yet. If anyone has a business they want to sponsor, shoot me a message on Twitter. But for now, this episode, I guess, is sponsored by 47 Years, a book about the 2023-24 Duquesne Dukes NCAA tournament run by David Finoli, Robert Healy, and Zach Weiss, our good friend. It's a great book. I haven't finished it yet. I love all of the stories in the beginning. It kind of takes you through the season, like game by game, and how this thing panned out. How did they get to the tournament? How did they get from a losing record, from an abysmal record in the beginning of conference play to the A-10 championship and to the tournament? Then gets into some profiles and some old stories about Duquesne players and coaches and everyone in the gym, like everyone in the building. I love how they did this in the book, where they take you through the games, they take you through the season, but then they tell the backstories of everyone that was involved, from the managers, from the support staff coaches, all the way up to the players. It's really interesting. I learned a lot about not only the authors, who are all very interesting and have interesting stories and relationships at Duquesne, but the team and the coaches. Like some of these coaches have great stories, and some of these assistant coaches. You don't really know about these guys who are leading the program, and you hear more stories about Keith Dambrot, man, that just tell you how special that group was. So if you haven't already, Google it, find it on Amazon, order it. It's cheap, it's affordable, but you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck. It's a great story that these three gentlemen told. Check out 47 Years on Amazon, or I bought mine at Duquesne. So if you're at the Dukes, Cooper Fieldhouse coming up soon, cop it. I mean, it's a good book. So that's Duquesne. Now to RMU, the men's team. I still like what Andy Toole's got going. Like they just got Cam Woods back for a bit in their last game. I think I'm still yet to judge like RMU on what they can be this season, just because they didn't have Cam Woods for so long in all of those games. I'll say this. I mean, they're just outside the top 200 in net. You could not have scheduled RMU's schedule better than Toole did heading into this year. Like I know they've played a bunch of cupcakes. I'll say it, a bunch of teams that weren't ranked highly at all in the net rankings and in any KenPom, anything you find. A lot of their opponents are way down there, but you have a major injury to your team, man. Like you got to stack wins whenever you can, wherever you can. So I think it was important for RMU to host that MTE, to beat those teams, to win that, get that team some confidence, and see what everyone can do. So Fulgaris is a great player. I mean, he's a star. He was leading the country in rebounding for a while there. Sandlin L is a really intriguing piece that came off the bench. I saw him a bit last time I was out there last week. And their guards are fun, man. Like their guards are really fun. And Cam Woods leading the way, but other than that, they've got really good depth. I like their backup point guard Dylan Miller for the future too. Like they've got a lot to learn. And Andy Toole's a fiery guy. Like you could see when you go to these games, he's gonna get into these guys and fire them up, and yell at them all game. But he's doing it out of the goodness of his heart. He wants to win games so badly. Like you can say whatever you want about Andy Toole, but you can't say that he's not passionate. You can't say that he's not working as hard as he can to flip this program around. So go check out RMU. Like, come on, we got to start supporting these local teams in person. We need better crowds of these games because they've got a winning record right now. They've had some great wins to start the season, and they've got some really good players. Like some of these guys could play at a higher level, but they're playing for RMU right down the street. Go check them out. RMU women's basketball to wrap up. Lost 4 straight. Not ideal, but I really like what Chandler McCabe's got going. Had a press conference with her a few weeks ago, and Zach Weiss was there as well. After I think it was their loss to St. Francis we were at, and I've caught them a few other times, watched them play Pitt, watched them play Duquesne. But I like what she had to say. I mean, she's leading this program in the right direction. She was absolutely pissed off that they lost the game and pissed about the right things. I was pleased to hear, her mentality towards this team, towards this season, towards putting it all together. Like a first-year head coach in this day and age in college basketball could take the easy way out and cast a lot of blame on the state of college basketball, NIL, lack of resources, facilities, anything they want. People do it all the time. But she took ownership, and the way that she talks, the way that she speaks about her group and about her job and about RMU women's basketball, really like it. They've got a really good guard in Noah Gavon. Fulatich is a good forward as well. Isis Grady also has had some great games so far. So go check out RMU women's basketball. I'm really, bullish on where that program can go in a few years under Chandler McCabe. I think there's still obviously time. You can't rush this, but I think she looks the part right now. She coaches really hard again, just like Andy Toole, man. Those are some fiery coaches in that building, and I like what they've got going out in Moon. So be sure to check out tomorrow night's City game. Tonight, I guess, first we've got Duquesne St. Peter's. Let's see what else we got on the schedule for this week in Pittsburgh basketball. So Duquesne St. Peter's men's tonight at 7. Tomorrow night we've got the City game. After the City game, you could go home. You could watch Pitt against Mississippi State. That's a big tilt. RMU will be playing Fort Wayne, the women's team, 7 o'clock. Then we've got a day off on Wednesday. No, on Thursday, sorry. Friday night, Duquesne against Delaware. I'll be there at the Coop. First time checking out the Dukes men's team in person. Saturday, Pitt will be at the Pitt men will be at Virginia Tech. RMU women will be playing Milwaukee. And then Sunday, we've got 3 games, all on the women, or 2 on the women's side. And then RMU men host Fort Wayne, or go to Fort Wayne to play, while Pitt women play St. Peter's. Duquesne women will play at Carnegie Mellon. So got a full week of basketball action. We had yesterday off, so it was a bit of a weird night not having a single game around the city. But thank you guys for tuning in. If you made it this far, man, I don't know what to tell you. I appreciate it a lot. We're trying to grow the game here and talk about basketball more in the city because there's a lot of stars, like I talked about in the show, man. There's a lot of good, talented players, talented coaches in the city that really care about hoops, and so do we. So thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe and drop a comment, like whatever all these YouTubers say, if you tuned in, because want to keep this going for you guys. Want to see the support continue to grow, and we need all the help we can get. So thank you for tuning in.